From cinematography to editing to special effects and makeup, Sacramento Film Works is your one-stop shop for everything filmmaking. Hi, I'm Gary Bell, filling in for Klein Moore.
And I'm Amy Henry. So glad to be with you this evening. We are excited because we're going to be talking about a really unique area within the filmmaking industry, composing for film. So you don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
Welcome back to Sacramento Film Works. Now, you know, Amy, I've known you for a number of years, and one of the things I do know about you is that you have a musical background yourself. Matter of fact, this woman sings like a bird. Oh. So I know when you go to the movies, you have a bit of a different take on what you look at and how it affects you. You want to elaborate on that?
I do, and especially it's changed a little bit since I got married years ago, because my husband is also, interestingly, a composer and arranger and director of music, and so it's kind of in our blood. But when we go to the movies, it's ridiculous because first of all, I have to sit through the entire movie and the credits because we have to sit there and take in every single song we have to sit and listen to. But I love it because we get a chance to listen to, okay, why did the composer choose this particular set of strings? Why did the composer choose these vocals here? And how did he or she bring out the emotions within this particular element of the movie? And Alvin and I have gone back and forth bantering. I didn't like that choice because this made me feel like this. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is. And then if we try to take our son to like a Disney movie, my son's the one going, shh, shh, you know. But anyway, I'm so excited about our guest because we get to talk about something that I really love that's dear to our heart.
Well, our guest tonight brings over 25 plus years of orchestral and Hollywood studio experience to his compositions. He's an A-list violinist. He has worked with such greats as John Williams, Danny Elfman, John Ottman. He has participated in over 1,000 film scores with such composers as John Barry, Hans Zimmer, and the late, great Jerry Goldsmith. And his film credits include Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, Superman Returns, The Matrix trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean, and rumor has it there's a new X-Men film on the horizon that he's also going to be participating in. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is with great pleasure I introduce to you film composer and musician extraordinaire, Mr. Richard Altenbach.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so excited you're here. I know I'm excited. I know Gary's excited. So we're going to dive right into it.
So Richard, you know, what started on you? How did you get started on this musical odyssey? You know, where did your journey begin?
Well, we'll have to actually dial back to age 5.
Wow.
Because I wrote my first song after beginning piano. I wrote my first song to accompany a picture book. It was called Super Banana and Peel. and the thing is that I've always thought visually. When I hear music, I always see images. I always feel that when I'm hearing music. And so from the very beginning, I think I was a good fit for writing for media. But then as I went through life, I had to decide what to concentrate on. I'm also a professional violinist. I kind of let the composition, I was writing some serious, as they call it, serious music for concert stage, things like that, and piano music and ensembles. But maybe through college, I started focusing only on violin performance. So I was playing in symphonies and that sort of thing. Well, I got bored of that. Went back home to Los Angeles, and when I started joining the playing in the Hollywood studio system, I started realizing I was listening to everything they were doing. I was on this side of the glass playing the violin, but I was listening to how he used that bassoon, you know, John Williams there, and how beautiful that was and how it brought the emotion out. And had a chance to think about writing a theme for something. And that got me thinking, well, I'm going to get my own studio, my own equipment, and start writing for video games, for TV, any visual media, web series, things like that, short films, and documentaries and films.
Wow. Okay, so you named off a lot of things that you were involved in. For those that are here in our audience, as well as those that are watching, what would you say was the career path, education-wise, for you to start going down this path?
Well, I would say as a given, a career path starts with getting really proficient and even mastering your instrument, really learning, you know, the classical training of a musical instrument and composition. That's kind of a given. But there were three main things for me that really propelled me into my film composing career. One was I participated in a competition. It was called the 72-Hour Hollywood Grand Slam competition, where everyone gets together, they get a story, they're given like certain parameters how to make their film. And the director made the film, I composed the music all within 72 hours, that's what we had, and we won first prize Grand Slam, Hollywood. And from there it was premiered at Sundance Film Festival. And so I got to go there and got to meet people there. That was a very wonderful, uplifting experience. A second thing for me was the ASCAP Film Composers Workshop. What they do is ASCAP has, every year, they choose 12 composers worldwide, and I was one of the 12 for that year.
Well, only 12 worldwide.
12, yeah, they have about 1,000 tapes or people. You have to present your music, and they go through all these tapes, and they say, well, this person might be viable for, you know, writing cinematically. So there were 12 very talented people there, you know, from all over, and I got to write the music. 20th Century Fox, I conducted the parts, I wrote out the parts, I'm conducting my colleagues that I usually play with, you know, which was kind of fun.
Wow.
And with a movie cue, for an actual movie cue. And that was a wonderful experience. You got to meet the producers and directors behind the scenes. They would talk to you and bring you into their studios, things like that, in their offices. And then the third thing I think really helps is to get a dedicated film composition education. In this case, I got it was the UCLA Film Certificate School in Composition, and there I studied with the president of ASCAP, who's Richard Bellis, and I learned a lot about the ins and outs of, you know, from the nitty-gritty, how to put the music down, how to market, how to talk to people in the industry.
How long does that take, that type of certificate?
Well, I think that the certificate program is maybe 2 years.
Oh, okay.
I did it for about a semester worth. It was the composition focusing.
Okay.
And did the last thing because I kind of had an in on the first part of it just from my experience, you know, working in the recording industry.
So do you audition in? Or
no, you pay a hefty fee to UCLA. But you know, this can be done at other schools. Sacramento State, I believe, has a program.
Right.
So all total, how long did that education process take?
Well, I would say it's good to have 2 years under your belt. Some young composers will actually go to USC or to Northridge or to some film school, and that will be their emphasis for 4 years. And it's very good because you're meeting up-and-coming directors, you're meeting up-and-coming script writers and talented people, other composers. So it's important. Then you're trying to tap into the feeling. So you have to know, you know, if it's sad, you might have minor keys or dissonance. If it's happy, you might have something different. And you'll see in this story, you'll see the effects of, like, there's something representing the young man character, there's something representing the main female character, and then the beautiful little girl. And there's even a little baby, and I'm bringing in, I had to study for about a month the sounds of the Nami people in South African music. So what they like to have, you know, thumb pianos and their reed flutes, and just the sound of it and the rhythms. So I tried to address that in some parts. So you bring it on top of a string orchestra. Here's some elements of the sound of the country.
You're right. So it's authentic.
And then there's a little girl seen, you know, a little baby. So there's some fun kind of, it almost sounds childlike, but using the thumb pianos.
Well, let's take a look at this.
Yeah. It's great.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that.
So your process is in depth in terms of this particular project. You had to do a lot of studying. You were concerned about authenticity, the actual feel of the people and the land and everything involved. So is that your process on every project?
Well, it was made clear by the producer and the director, excuse me, that they wanted to bring these elements to the fore. But I would say, as a matter of course, that is a good way to approach composition, to take in everything. Also, it actually facilitates your composition of the whole film. You don't have that much time to write, maybe 6 weeks to write and perform and
Really?
record. So
Wow.
when you have these elements that are already there, you can call to bear on the different elements and use those same elements in different ways for different scenes. So it actually helps you, this in-depth approach helps you facilitate getting through it better, faster.
Okay. Well, time, our mortal enemy, is passing with rapidity, but what advice can you give young composers right now who are trying to do what you did?
Well, as I said before, they have to get proficient in an instrument, really. And they have to get proficient in knowing musical composition, just the nuts and bolts. But if I had to do it all over again, what I would have done is taken, at a young age, I would have gotten gone through these school processes, gone to every single film festival I could, talked to directors, not just composers, not just people in music, directors, students in directing. And then I would have, what I would do, and really suggest to do, and this is what Hans Zimmer is so wonderful with his megalopolis called Remote Control in Santa Monica, 2 square blocks, and I've been there, I've worked there. And what he does, what you do is you become an apprentice to work with a composer. You get their water, and before you know it, you're helping out, writing out orchestration, you're ghosting themes, ghosting pieces. And then on that, you'll be given a chance to score your own TV show, your own documentary, and who knows where it can go from there.
Wow,
but
that's
most of the
amazing.
people today have gotten their start from doing that, being connected with a real wonderful veteran that they respect and whose sound they love and that they can do.
That's great.
That's great. Well, we need to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have questions from the studio audience and with Amy Henry.
That's right. We'll be right back.
Sacramento Film Works is sponsored by the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition, which provides filmmakers an opportunity to learn and network with professionals in the filmmaking industry in the Sacramento region. Join us each Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Access Sacramento, 4623 T Street, Suite A. We'll see you in the movies.
Well, we are back in our studio audience, and we've got several really great questions that we want to address to Richard. And so I've got one guest here. Please stand. Tell us your first name.
My name is Aaliyah.
Okay, Aaliyah, and what question would you like to address?
Richard, I have a question that I'd like to ask you. Who was your favorite music composer while you were growing up, and if you've had the opportunity to meet them?
Well, that's a very easy question for me to answer. My favorite composer of all time is Johann Sebastian Bach. But I haven't met him because he's been dust for 300 years. But I think my favorite, the person there are a couple that I really admire. Of course, John Williams, who did so much for bringing back orchestral sound to music scores in the 70s. But I happened to grow up, I was a piano student of his sister. So I had even, meetings with him when I was very young. But also, I love and respect Danny Elfman and his sound. It's just amazing to me. And also Hans Zimmer. I'm a great admirer of everything about Hans Zimmer, including the marketing aspect and how to make music, profitable and marketable and talk to people, speak to people. So I respect them. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And our next guest, what is your name?
My name is Heather.
And Heather, what question would you like to ask?
When you're doing movies, how do you choose a composer?
Well, I think that would be on the other side because I'm kind of, well, it's interesting. I think the big, huge movies that you see being produced, there are agencies involved, there are, talent scouts, there are contractors involved, and producers. So someone might say, okay, if we're going to be doing a big Matt Damon picture, and he's attached to this picture for Paramount Studios, we can use people from this short list, 10 people long, certain composers that are hot right now, like Alan Silvestri or John Williams or, people like that, or John Powell. But basically a very, a thoughtful director or producer will be listening to music as they're editing or making their picture or movie. I've asked them before, they constantly have music going while they're editing and thinking. So they'll have a sound in mind. Let's say they have a Celtic picture. Well, they might say, I have a Dark Age Celtic picture. I want the sound of Enya in there. And I want to have instruments, so they'll focus on finding a composer that fits that. So they'll do research on their own to find composers who really speak to that project. Even if other composers might be great and might be wonderful, they want to, have the experience with that person whose specialty might be, they're a great rock composer and, this is a wrestling movie, I want this sound. So it's a really complex process, but I think it's kind of organic and kind of intuitive for the creatives involved. They get together somehow. The very ones that need to be together somehow find themselves together.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
So Richard, I understand you have a new project. You want to tell us a little bit about it and then give us your contact information.
Sure, thank you. I'd love to talk about it. The movie I'm working on now is near and dear to my heart because it's a horror flick. And I like writing really like active and kind of quirky music, and just scary music is a wonderful
And
fun
where is
thing.
it based?
It's from Sacramento, Northern California.
All right.
It's a feature film. It's called The Dark. And we just finished the trailer. I'm halfway through writing the music for the whole movie. It's called The Trailer. That will be out soon. You'll be seeing the trailers or hearing that. And it's a really fun experience. I enjoy it.
All right. Well, Richard, give us your contact information so that folks can find you and pay you lots of money.
Well, I've heard that if you actually Google my name, Richard Altenbach, there's like all these pages on there that I didn't know about because it'll have credits to each movie that I've been involved with. You can go to imdb.com and look for Richard Altenbach as composer. My website is richardaltenbach.com, www.richardaltenbach.com. But I'm in the midst of revamping it, so I don't know how timely it is. I have a Facebook page also. So you go to Richard Altenbach and composer for film. You can put in the search, and it'll go to that page with basically my most, I have a lot of samples too, like the horror movie, for instance. I'm going to be putting up some now.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, for being here. And thank you also to our studio audience. These were great questions. But listen, when we come back, we are going to go straight into our Sacramento Spotlight Show. You don't want to miss this. We've got a special guest, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you'd like to be a member of our studio audience, to meet and greet film industry professionals, visit our website at ncfc.tv.
Well, welcome back. We're so glad you joined us. If you have just joined us, we are actually into our Sacramento Spotlight segment of our show. And this is really a fun segment because we get to highlight local talent, whether they are people that are actually acting or directors. But in this case, we've got a really unique niche of a business owner who actually found a unique way of being in the film industry and in the music industry. And I'm really pleased to introduce our guest today. He's CEO of a company entitled Executive Bodyguard Services, Keith Snowman Graham. Keith, welcome.
Nice to
welcome
meet
to the
you.
show. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
Well, I understand you have been in the business of doing personal safety bodyguard services for people in this huge industry of filmmaking or music, even in the entertainment industry for 35 plus years, dating back to close to 1978 or so. Is that correct?
1974.
Wow. Well, with your last name being Graham, you're associated with Larry Graham, Graham Central Station.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so some other high hitters of people that we might know. You had services with Paula Abdul, one of my favorites, Earth, Wind and Fire. Just to name a few, Prince as well.
Expose, Club Nouveau, and then of course 20 years with James Brown, the Godfather of Soul. So.
20 years with James Brown, the Father of Soul. That is amazing. So tell our viewers, when you got started in this business, you found a really unique need that happens in the film industry. What is it that drew you into this particular part of the film industry and music industry?
I always enjoyed music and working and growing up with different celebrities. It was always, I had to find a way. I wasn't vocally talented enough to be on stage with everybody, and I couldn't write, couldn't play music, I couldn't do anything, and I had to figure out a way that I could be of help and be associated with them. So fortunately, like everybody else, started doing whatever I could do, whether it be roll-up chords, polishing instruments, just running errands, whatever it is that I could do to stay associated with the groups and make myself useful enough for them to keep me around. And being a big guy too, also, it kind of served a dual purpose of when fans were getting a little too close, or if we had to move a certain way or certain destination that required somebody of my size to kind of clear the way.
Okay.
So pretty much I just worked myself into a more of a security aspect of it, which was also a good thing because it's also a viable need for the companies and for the artists because of the, like I said, of all the groupies and the fans and things of that nature.
Okay. So when you started, of course, you had your key bigger names that you worked for, like some of the ones that we mentioned, but I know you and I had a chance to talk, and you had to really build volume in your business, along with, uniquely, I think, build relationships within the industry so that you would be a viable company that people could actually, really trust their lives with. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. It was more of a volume service because of the fact that if you're not around as much as possible, then people don't know who you are, and they won't know to contact you for certain things, and they're not going to know to use you, because back in the 70s and in the 80s, security wasn't a paramount type of thing, but a lot of industry and music people, and as far as radio stations and promoters, they would think about it, but they didn't know really who to contact. They weren't sure who to use, why to use it, where to use it. So I gave them that avenue to show them what it was that I do, specifically how I do it with my group of guys that I bring in, and how we accomplish to make things run very smoothly, not for the artists, but for the record companies and the radio stations, actually.
So we have viewers that I'm sure are interested in this area of filmmaking because, again, like you said, to be in the industry of film or music or just entertainment in general, you don't have to necessarily have the talent of singing or dancing or writing, but you may have this particular skill. What would you advise someone who's perking up and saying, oh my goodness, I never thought about doing what he's doing? How would you encourage them to get started?
Well, in the security industry, it comes a lot of knowing the law. That's a big one. Any type of law enforcement training that you can go to school for. Go through maybe a police, they've got ranges of police academies as well as college courses that you can take for psychology, for knowing your business as far as who's who. If you really enjoy what you do as film or music-wise, you want to actually enjoy being in film or music. You can't just be security and not care about the music part of it or the film part of it, because you want to make sure that it doesn't matter who you work for, whether it be country, R&B, hip-hop, rock, doesn't matter. You service that client for their security needs and for their safety. That's what you do. But you really have to know the knowledge of how to protect people and how to talk to people, because you have to have a skill to basically go around and make sure that whatever point you're trying to get across comes across a lot more smoother than it is just because you're a big guy or because you're trying to, you know, bully somebody around. It can't just all work like that.
Well, as we wrap this up, I like that point that you made, because we live in a different age now than the 80s and even the 90s. And so encouraging people to understand, care about what you're doing, care about the clients that you're servicing, get the information that you need in order to really protect your client and what they're doing. Thank you so much for just taking the time. I know you're from the Dublin area, and again, let our viewers know, because those people that want to possibly take a step in this direction would like to go to your website. So where can we contact you and find out more information about your business?
Well, we have a department, it's called the DAR, Department of Attitude Readjustment. That's pretty much it there.
Okay.
But www.executivebodyguardservices.com.
Okay,
You
great.
can go to my website, all my contact information's on there. And you can look for any security needs. There's a lot of great security professionals out there, but you have to vet them very carefully, because a lot of them say they know one thing but do another. So I would suggest just be common sense, and awareness is your biggest asset in life. So.
Well, for somebody that's been in the business for 35 years, whose name is known all over the place, I really suggest that you go to that website and pay attention to what he has said today. Pay attention to what's on the website. Today more than ever, we need people that are going to care about other people. And I want to thank you for doing that for so long and for coming to join us today. Keith the Snowman Graham, thanks so much for being here. Thank you.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Sacramento Film Works is brought to you in partnership with Access Sacramento and the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our special guest, Richard Altenbach, for his great time with us.
And our Sacramento Spotlight, Mr. Keith Graham, who is the CEO of the Executive Bodyguard Services. That was really a great time talking with him. So thank you to him.
Well, I'm Gary Bell.
And I'm Amy Henry. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on Sacramento Film Works,
where we show you how film works.